Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You're Allah's chosen one, the chosen one to spread the truth from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The chosen one, though the road is long, just know Allah won't let you lose your way. You are the mercy for mankind. You are the teacher for this life. Allah has blessed you with the Quran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, our dear audience, to Muhammad the Leader, peace be upon him. We're still talking and learning more about Prophet Muhammad's life. We're going back and learning more about the history. I'd like to remind you that the leader we're talking about today is a real unique one and completely different from any other leader that we talked about or we still are going to talk about. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the more we learn about him, the more we get surprised, the more we're interested to learning more. I'm still joined and I'm having the honor of having Dr. Mamdouh Nuruddin Muhammad, the former professor at Johns Hopkins University in the US. Dr. Mamdouh, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. The honor is mine, really.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Mamdouh, today we'll be continuing to knowing more about Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and our topic today is about credibility. And this is so much connected with what we spoke about in a previous episode that was related to trust.
Yes.
I think credibility from the eyes of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is completely defined in a different way. Could you please tell me the definition of credibility from Muhammad's eye ﷺ?
The simple definition of credibility is that you can say it's your reputation based on what you have done previously. So it's an ongoing process. You can never delete. You cannot say that at this age your credibility was good, or at another time your credibility was not good, and so on and so forth. It's everything that we have done. We carry it with us. It's like our shadow. It follows us like our shadow. And wherever we go, it goes with us. You cannot delete your history. Everybody now is recording, particularly nowadays with the advancement of technology. Everything is recorded.
Right.
So that's why nowadays when you see people are mentioning some leaders, for example, if they mention Adolf Hitler, all the time they mention the Holocaust.
Okay.
People, when they talk about Vladimir Putin, they talk about Aleppo and how he destroyed a whole city like Aleppo. When they talk about World War II, everybody talks about Harry Truman, who used the Nagasaki and Hiroshima bombs. So this is a legacy that goes with you wherever you go. Therefore, it is very important. You cannot delete this. Whereas when we talk about Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, I challenge any one of the audience now to mention something negative about him. If you look into history, in fact, in reality, something different here is that the more you dig into the personality of a person in general, the more you find his flaws and errors and mistakes. On the contrary, the more you dig into the personality of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the more you find the treasures.
Right.
You find lots of treasures in his personality, and you find credibility, for example, with Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Every time you dig into his personality. No wonder a person like Michael Hart, who authored his famous book 100, the most 100 influential people on the earth, he selected Muhammad ﷺ to be on the top of them, which is normal from a perspective of any Muslim. But now this guy is not a Muslim, yet he selected Muhammad ﷺ. As he labeled him, he said that he is the leader of all ages. Of course, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ lived a specific time, specific era.
Yes.
Yet he said that he is the leader of all ages.
As we mentioned earlier, we're still being led by a leader who was buried almost 1,400, over 1,400 years ago, and we are still today here with you talking about him and learning from him. So I can't find a better definition of a leader.
I remember that I think Bernard Shaw said about him something also amazing. He said that had Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam been alive now, he would have solved the problems of the world while he is taking a cup of coffee. Yeah?
Exactly, yes. Yes, he said so.
Which tells us really something about his credibility.
Yes.
And that's why he is the leader of the leaders. Yes.
Exactly. So now when we talk about the word credibility, so many things come across my mind, and I'm sure it does the same for our audience. I might want the company that provides me with the service, like a customer, credibility. I want to make sure that they're giving me transparent information, correct information. They never lie to me, they never steal me. And this is when I talk about one type of a relation, a customer and a service provider or a product provider. Now in this case, we know that at the time of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, one of the things he was doing is trading. And at that time, even people who are like trading with him in the same market, the people, when they get disputes, we learned from the history that they would come to him and say, could you please tell us what can we do about this dispute? We want this to be solved.
Yes.
Although he is one person who is nowadays what we consider a competitor.
Yeah.
So I'm a trader and you're a trader, but you come to me when you have a dispute to resolve this.
Yeah. I would love to say that there are many leaders in the world, they are trying hard to gain some sort of credibility. They are doing a lot of effort in this field. However, sometimes there are situations and circumstances that overcome them. So they could not resist saying a lie or cheating or... And when we look at the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and we add to his personality as the best human being, we add the other dimension that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected him to be the final messenger. So it is the selection. This dimension, which is, we can label it a divine dimension, is not with every human being. Can it be imitated? Yes, it can. But the weaknesses in us as humans usually fail us in some situations. It's almost impossible to find a person who is 100% perfect or even close to that. Yet the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was close to perfection because he was selected by Allah as the best human being. At the same time, it is Allah, it is his creator, it is his Lord who labeled him. Indeed, you are on the best manners. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what an honor for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what an honor for us. We are very proud and we are bragging about this. We are very proud that our Prophet is the best human being on the earth. No doubt. You don't find anything in his history that scratches his history and his reputation and his good name.
So back in time, there was once, what happened is Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, wanted to test the loyalty of the people around him, his relatives, family. Could you tell us a little bit more about this story?
Which story in particular? Because
let me share with you the quote I found in the chapter here. What it says here, he gathered them and he asked them, if I were to tell you that there was cavalry ready to attack us from behind this mountain, would you believe me?
Yes, I know this story. Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ wanted to hear their opinion. He wanted, in fact, to let them testify that who is Muhammad ﷺ. And he tested them and he asked them this famous question. He stood on a mountain, he called them and they came from their houses and tents and they gathered around him, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ wanted to start his call, to call them to Islam. Yet he made this introduction. What would you say if I tell you that behind this mountain there is an army coming, or a cavalry that's coming to attack you. Would you believe me? Would you believe me? All of them said it in one voice, yes, we would. And then some of them commented, they said that we never experienced you making a mistake or a lie, so we trust you. And you see how credibility here, because he got this reputation that he never lied. He tried to imagine that if somebody tells you now, if this person never lied, you wouldn't believe him. But all
it's
of them.
so difficult, yes.
Yes.
This is a story, I remember we mentioned it in the trust episode as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Then all of them said, yes, we never experienced you making a lie. So this is a witness from them, all of them. Then when the Prophet ﷺ started calling them to Islam, and one of his relatives said that, Tabban laka, yes, may your hand be cut, or you may be pierced, you may die hoping. They're hoping. Did you call us for this reason? Inviting them to a new religion?
To tell us so?
Yes, their arrogance was too big to prevent them from listening to the message of Islam. And which is something usually normal among people when you bring a new religion to them. It's not an easy thing that you change the religion of people in matter of seconds.
Like this point will take us to what happened over time, because by time those people who were resisting at the very beginning,
who resisted them, yes.
by time they were the ones who came to believe him at the end. How do you see this?
Not only that, I'd like to add some.
Sure.
Even his enemies, the ones who were plotting and planning to kill him, they became the closest friends to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Once they started seeing the truth and the wise ways and wise strategies that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used in calling them to this religion, had this great impact on them, changed them. When you change people, you have to change them very smoothly, not by heart. Not by harsh ways, not by hard ways, not by difficult techniques. Rather, you change them naturally. And that's why they became the followers of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
So now again, moving on to modern leaders.
Yes.
So a leader is getting introduced maybe to a new employee, a new teacher, a new professor. I mean, a person is now in a position of a leader, and he has team members. We are going to discuss the point of how they can start making themselves credible in the eyes of their teams and employees right after the break. All right, our dear audience, let's answer this question and stay tuned with us after the break.
Oh, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Oh, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Welcome back, our dear audience. After the break, we're still joined by Dr. Mamdouh Nuruddin, the former professor at Johns Hopkins University, talking about the credibility of Prophet Muhammad back in time, alayhi salatu wassalam. So, Dr. Mamdouh, right before the break, I was asking you about the modern leaders now. I'm assuming that this leader is getting introduced now for new team members. I'm going to make the scenario goes like they've never met. How would you advise this person to start building credibility? How in few days make this team, how could this person make this team very soon having a full credibility in their eyes towards this leader?
Okay, let me first of all try to tell you, the audience, that many people when they talk about leadership, they say that leadership that lacks credibility, we can see how important credibility is. So they say that leadership that lacks credibility, it's incomplete leadership. That means this kind of weak leadership. Even some other ones said that the leadership that lacks credibility is no leadership at all.
Which is, I think they have a point here.
Of course, they do have a point.
Because this is like an essential thing. If I can't find it in a person, why would I believe him?
Sometimes you cannot blame the leaders themselves directly, particularly when they were young. when they were young, if their parents were not aware of preparing their children to be leaders, they would definitely miss a lot of things.
Right.
So they start rebuilding their own credibility once they are aware of this. And it's a long time. Let's say that I am planning to be a leader, and at the age of 15 or 14, so let's not count all the years before 15 years old. After that, you start trying to make credibility. It's not something that you make it today and you forget it tomorrow. It's every day builds up your credibility.
Right.
So it's a long time, and because we are humans, we are made to make errors. So these errors make scratches in our credibility. Versus messengers of Allah, versus Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. From day one, let alone that his family members prepared him to be a leader, because this was the nature of the Arabs, by the way. Each one of them wants to prepare somebody to be the leader of a tribe.
So that's a point that we may move on to now. The Arabs before Islam, they were already having their own tribes, which every tribe had a leader itself. And I think they were not so much into having a one leader for all tribes. Was that true?
Yes, absolutely true. And this was the difficulty, one of the difficulties that Prophet Muhammad faced to unite them, to make them, to change their minds. And instead of following or choosing one leader from your tribe, from your race, from your sect, rather now we want to get a leader, that all the people would get around him.
That was hard to change. I guess it was
one of the most difficult parts.
Psychological barrier, because for them it was, why would we have a leader for all tribes? Because I have mine.
The concept did not exist in their mind, because it might have been so difficult for them to imagine that this is happening.
Right.
But it happened at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, naturally and smoothly. Nobody appointed Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a leader for them. They found themselves that the relationship between Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his Creator, and being selected by his Creator, by Almighty Allah, to be the carrier of this great message of Islam, made them understand that this guy is so unique that Allah selected him to do this job, to do this mission. Therefore, when we try to do it now, it's so difficult. And I am saying that there are many leaders who try hard to make clean history, and to make their history so clean that people would suggest that they would be leaders. But this is not the case all the time. For example, in a democratic society where every human being has the right to vote, you vote on some people, but you don't know their history. Most of their history is not clear. You have not seen them in real life taking decisions and making decisions so that you would be able to know the credibility of a person. You don't know the history of X or Y or from. And this is something good. One author wrote about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam this statement. He said that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born under the sun. Everybody is born under the sun. But what he meant, that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his history, what he is doing currently, everybody sees it. Everybody knows it. Even when he goes to the washrooms, the companions, when he comes out, they record things about him, so that because they want to follow his footsteps.
Right.
So they wanted to record everything about him. Whenever he goes to the kitchen, whenever he goes to the army and to lead the army, everything that he does is witnessed and watched closely by the companions, because they know that it's part of their religion to imitate the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
So if we speak about the companions now, it was very obvious that, of course, they would love to follow Muhammad alayhi salatu
Absolutely,
wasalam,
not just the companions.
Exactly.
Every Muslim on this planet
Right.
has to follow the footsteps of Prophet Muhammad.
Of
sallallahu
course.
alayhi wa sallam.
My point here, saying this, is because I know while reading the chapter, it says that some of the enemies would even trust Muhammad ﷺ by leaving some of their valuable things
Yes.
while they go on a trip.
Yeah.
That they need to trade something, but they cannot move with all of their things.
Yeah.
So they would keep it with Muhammad ﷺ. So when they come back, they take it again.
This is what outcomes that may come from credibility. If you have a good name and reputation, you never stole something, you never took anything, you never changed your mind, you never cheated on people. So people will know that you are a trustworthy person. And people, before they knew his name, they labeled him as the trustworthy, as Al-Amin. So therefore, even his enemies, they would leave their treasures, they would leave the valuables with him, and they travel sometimes for months, sometimes for years, and come back to find everything as it was.
Right.
What a good reputation that we need to find few people like that. Unfortunately, there may be some people, but we don't know them. But this is the real reputation of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was honest and pure in doing all these things for the sake of Allah. And every Muslim is supposed to be like that. A person of trustworthy, right? To be trustworthy. Why? Because part of our religion is this amana. When somebody gives you an amana, he entrusts you with valuables, with anything, even with words and secrets. You don't have any right to cheat on that.
Exactly.
Or to spell out the secret to other people.
Let's move on now, Dr. Mamdouh, to the family. The family, and what I mean by family here is in the parents in particular. What do you think of their role in terms of credibility in this respect?
Yeah, I would say that if the parents are Muslims, their job is very clear. Because they have the whole Quran, 1/3 of it talks about the halal issues, the legal issues, and the illegal issues, the haram issues.
Right.
Once the parents commit themselves to teaching this to their children, they start growing, doing only the halal issue, and they are avoiding to make any haram issue. By this way, they were raised in an upright way. This is the best upright way that we can. We take from the Quran and we take from the tradition of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are trained and coached to follow these things. So the role of the parents now is to have a close eye upon or on their children while they are growing, and trying to help them keep their history or their reputation as clean as possible. It is doable. We have seen the children of the companions, we've seen the children of the followers, the tabi'een, alhamdulillah. Some of them were imitating the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam 100% their time. And this is what we are missing nowadays.
Right.
Some parents are not paying attention to these great treasures that have been entrusted with, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entrusted our parents with us. They have to take care of us. But parents, unfortunately, the people who don't do it smartly, yes, they keep themselves very busy with their jobs and with other materialistic things at the expense of raising their children to be upright persons. And we encourage every parent to use the Quran as the main source for raising up their children, and they will have very great results, inshallah, when their children grow up.
Inshallah. All right, so Dr. Mamdouh, now we spoke about the family in terms of parents. Now, I want to move back again to the point of the employee and an employer relationship. Now, I want to talk maybe about the situation that I observe, and I have so many friends and colleagues who share this with me, so I'd like to bring this to the table. Now, if I'm used to dealing with a credible reader, but then at a point there is a down, And I don't feel that there is enough transparency between me and this leader at this moment or at this point. Me as a follower, what is your advice for me? What should I do in this case?
Good. It's a good. First of all, I would like to tell every human being, to err is human. This is something natural, to make mistakes. But to repeat it is not part of humans. You can control it. It happened for the first time. And I think transparency is something that helps us overcome this. So if you find me, and I am your employer, find repeating the mistakes, I would love that you would come to talk to me in privacy and to tell me that this has happened, and this may scratch your credibility, Mamdouh. Your credibility is not something that you think that nobody can scratch. Every negative thing that I do, it will scratch it. So you are reminding me, if you are not aware of this, Mamdouh, I'm telling you that this affects you.
Right. And you get more scratches the more you do it.
Absolutely. Therefore, the more you are open to me, the more you are sincere in your words, this will have impact on me.
Exactly.
And I would love you more, and I would respect you more, because you showed me some of my errors and mistakes that I don't see.
Right.
Therefore, the Prophet ﷺ even taught us this technique. الْمُؤْمِنُ مِرْآةُ أَخِيهِ, that the believer is the mirror for his brother, because nobody sees his errors and mistakes.
Exactly. All right, Dr. Mamdouh, that was the last thing in our episode today. While we were talking about credibility, I'm going to use your last words, that every negative step or thing or situation that you make scratches your credibility in front of the eyes.
Thank you, but I'm reminding you, in the audience in particular, if they have something and they want to share with us, they can go to the website that you mentioned its name.
Sure, on the Facebook page or the YouTube channel.
What is it called?
Huda TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. So, our dear audience, that was the last thing in our episode today. We hope you enjoyed it and learned so much with us here, and we look forward to learning more about Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the history and his sunnah. All right. I had the pleasure of having Dr. Mamdouh Nuruddin, the former professor from Johns Hopkins University in the U.S. Thank you for being with us.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you as well.
See you next episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
Oh, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ya Allah.